Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Patrick Payne. I'm the Chief Technical Evangelist here at Zumasys. In this video, I want to show you how to install jBASE, the latest jBASE 5.71 and newer, on your normal Windows 10 workstation using an evaluation license. The purpose of this video is to get everything up and running and show any issues you could run into around compilers. So let's get started. So the first thing I want you to do is open up your browser and go to zumasys.com/downloads. This page will show you all our latest products, and what you want to do is scroll down to jBASE and pick the Windows download right here, and it will start downloading. While that's downloading, let's go ahead and click in here for Request Demo. And you can now request the evaluation license, which is usually a 3-month license for 5 users, directly from here. While we're waiting for that, we can go ahead and start our jBASE install. So once the file is downloaded, click on it. Say yes. Now, jBASE, where it's different from other PIC platforms, is that we actually compile down to native code using C. To do that, we need an actual C compiler, and we actually use, on the Windows platform, the Microsoft C compiler that comes with Visual Studio. On Linux, we would just use the built-in GCC compiler. So what we're doing here is we're actually, if you do not have Visual Studio installed, and even if you have Visual Studio installed, you need to have included the C and C++ package with Visual Studio. So what this is going to do is first do a check to see if it sees natively if a compiler is there and available. Say next. In this case, because this is a brand new clean Windows 10 machine, it did not. What we're going to do here is follow these instructions, which is basically taking us to the Microsoft Visual Studio download page, where we're going to install Visual Studio Community Edition, which is free, with just the minimal pieces we need, which is the C and C++ compiler. Open the Visual Studio download page. I'm going to tell it to do it in Chrome. This thing will bring us right down here. So it's right here called the Build Tools for Visual Studio. And this is the description, the same description you'll see if you do the Add Remove programs. So we'll click here and say we need to download. They'll install us a small little download thing. You can ignore their marketing page here and just launch the installer. I'll go here and fetch the minimal installer piece. And this is where it appears as different. If you already have Visual Studio installed, you go into your Add Remove programs for Visual Studio, and it should start with the page we're going to see here shortly. Okay, so this is the piece we're talking about. We want this package, and when it shows you the individual pieces, we need at a minimum the Windows 10 SDK, the C++, and these core build tools. These are the base pieces that jBASE needs. And again, if you already have Visual Studio installed, you need to get to this page in your Visual Studio where you can add and remove components and add this piece. Okay, we'll click Install. Okay, there, Visual Studio is done, and it has installed, and it shows us no issues. If it did have issues, like it ran out of disk space and stuff, you'd actually see some prompts here showing the status as an issue. So now what we do is we click back down here on our installer, and we now click Next. And when it searches for the compiler, it should now find it. It did, and what it wants to do now is update your main environment variables for Windows to have the path to the command line installer. Say yes, let it update, and then we say Finish. Go down here and click on the other part of our installer, and now let's finish out the install. So here is a company registered outside the European Union, or is it registered within? We're going to say no, we're outside the EU. Here we're going to accept our user agreement. We're going to go with an express install. By default, it installs jBASE in the C drive under a directory called jBASE and the release number. It'll actually create a symbolic link called C/jBASE/current version, which will link to the latest version of jBASE. So in later times when you install new versions of jBASE, they'll go in their own new directory and a symbolic link will be updated. Gives you a nice quick option to roll back to an earlier version if you wish. jBASE by default wants to create a local user that is for administrative purposes of the jBASE system. This ties a lot into the telnet service, which will also be installed, so you can actually telnet into jBASE like you would do with other multi-value platforms. So by default, this is jBASE admin. You should leave it the same. Set up a password here. I'm just going to make it password. I highly recommend here that you write down the password you use. Later, when you go to use a telnet server, you'll need to remember this password. If you forget the password, you will have to go into the Windows User Manager and reset the password yourself. Hit next. And now we need our key. So here, we go up our email, and I already have it open, and here's our activation email we got. And what we want to do is take this key, copy it. You'll see that it is here good for 3 months for 5 users. You can, at the end of that 3 months, just go back in and request another evaluation code. You do them 3 months at a time. Let's go back to our installer. Paste, and hit the next button. Okay, so it took the key, hit install, and now jBASE itself is installing. This is the standard C++ redistributable package for people who make C++ programs. So this is the opposite side of the Visual Studio build tools. This is the runtime tools. Here it's actually created all your services, fired up the telnet service, the JDL service, and the spooler. As it says here, that if you wish to use telnet or JRCS from external machines contacting this machine, you will need to go into your firewall rules based on those firewalls you have installed and open up those ports. If you wish to use the telnet service, which means you can telnet to this box, port 23, you do need to restart your computer before you do that. The environment variables we set will not take effect on those services until they reboot. So it'll kind of work, but a bunch of stuff will fail when you're trying to do stuff in there. So just please reboot if you wish to use that service. Okay, where it's finished, it says here, do you want me to open up a J shell after installation? We say yes, and jBASE is now up and running. Let's maximize our window. It's a very small font, so let's change it so you can see what I'm doing here. There, that's better. So we're in jBASE. We'll have additional videos that help you getting around jBASE and show you the difference between jBASE and other platforms. I'll just get you started here real quick. You are in jBASE. If you wish to re-get to this command at any time, you can get here from a DOS or a PowerShell prompt. So here I'm going to actually launch PowerShell. And from any prompt in the system, you type JB for jBASE. It'll ask you what account. These accounts right now are case sensitive, so do it in uppercase. jBASE admin, which is the default account on the system. Think of it like in D3, it's your DM account. And here I am as the next user in here. All your standard pick commands between all the platforms are there. If you want to start doing some just real quick coding, I would say you should create your own account in the flavor of the system you're in. So if you're a D3 user, for example, do a create-account, use the -E option, lowercase d3 for D3 emulation, and let's call this test for D3. It'll create a new account, and if we don't do any other options, it creates it within the jBASE directory. So now I can say log to test D3. This gives you And the main thing this is, it turns all the case insensitivity around pick. Now, to show that, for example, we say list MD. We say list MD equal to, and let's do a wildcard unique. Yeah, that works. List MD wildcard unique in lowercase. That still finds it, whereas if we log back to our jBASE admin account, and we're now in what's called jBASE emulation, which is case sensitive, and to see what emulation you're in, do a jdiag. It's the main command that lets you see how your environment is set up, and the thing we're looking for is jbc emulate here. So now if we do the same thing we just did, list MD equal to unique, you'll see, hey, it's there. We tell it to find it in lowercase. It's not there. Why? Because in this emulation, it's case sensitive. You can usually switch those emulations on the fly and get the different activity, except for within files. Files are created either case insensitive or not to make the MDs be found in upper and lower case. That's not something you can switch back and forth. So when you're in D3 emulation, it will by default create the file as case insensitive. If you're over in jBASE or some other emulations that are not case sensitive, it'll create the files as case insensitive, or I'm sorry, case sensitive. So there's just a couple little quick things. We'll have other videos that get deeper into it, but to show you, to make sure the compiler and everything's working, let's run over to our test D3 account. Let's normal ed editor is just like the D3 editor. We can say first let's create a file. So we'll create a BP file, our type is UD. That tells it to create it as a Unix directory. So it's not actually a pick file, it's actually a directory within the Windows system. We're going to now say edit BP hello. We're going to demonstrate that we are case insensitive by programming in lowercase. Real simple hello, the username. Now let's basic our program. And it compiles, and that tells us it found the compiler. Catalog VP hello. Another thing on jBASE for you from the platforms is that the actual catalog statement is what actually creates the actual C programs. So the first one is just an intermediate object. The second one actually creates the final executable. So every time you make a program or make a change, you need to both basic and catalog it, but that's different from other programs. So now I say hello, and our program works. So again, thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps you get jBASE installed and up and running quickly. And then please look into our next few videos where I will step you through doing some simple programs, starting to create simple RESTful services, all the way up to creating some full CRUD RESTful services. And then we will actually get into advanced features of jBASE, including things like our objects, our dynamic objects, methods, items that we have that kind of differentiates us from most other PIC platforms. Thank you very much, and have a great day.